Alrighty, welcome back. This is part 3 of the video series on this core support repair. Okay, left off, we had cut the metal out where the rust was here on the rear side. I've taken grounded down, getting ready to weld this guy in here we made. Now I measured before I ground. I put a mark. It was 8 3/4 inches from the top down to here, because of course I ground the magic marker line away when I took the grinder to it. And I took on this edge, on the back side of this piece, I put primer, because once it's welded in, you're not going to be able to get to all of it. Hopefully keeps it from rusting for a while. And before I also weld, I'm going to put a coat in a primer here where I ground, and then I'm going to re-put a mark on it there, and we're going to weld this in place. Okay. We have this temporarily clamped in, and I'm going to weld it across here, back through here, and down to about where I put primer. And this is going to get cut out, but we're going to put this much in so far. And that'll be a good step in. Of course, this little piece here, once I'll tack it and then move the vice grips, but we'll do that and we will come back and show you an update there. Alrighty, we got this from the back, welded up around here, down across, and in here. Now I didn't go down into from here down because this is going to be eventually, don't worry about it now, will be getting cut out and replaced. Now we're going to take and turn this over. You can see I welded it, I just flipped it with it. And we're going to go turn it up right side out again. And I'm going to weld where I spot welded these plug welds and across these seams. And on that, earlier there in my last video, gave a demonstration on doing a plug weld. You can be sure to go back and check it out. Alright, there we got it welded from the other side. Did those plug welds. And like I say, welded around where it cut out, around these edges. Now we're ready to turn it back over, and we're going to put the equivalents on the other side of it. Get it unstuck. Like I say, we've made the piece for over here. That's going to be the next step. Okay, getting ready to weld. Have this all clamped in like did on the driver's side of it. And I temporarily reinstalled the lower part of the core support just to be sure everything was in the right place. And we're going to weld this. And again, when you're welding sheet metal, I probably mentioned this, but just do like a little, about a ½ inch, stop, move over, let it cool a little bit and work at a different place. And also while you're doing it, I usually take like a hammer, a little one, and a punch after you weld, because the metal wants to pull away, and just tap it in and it makes a real nice tight fit when you're all done. Okay, let's weld this in. Okay, there, I'm not sure, I think I have, but in the other video, but there is basically what I was talking about. Is just put a couple spots there, tack your metal in at different places, and then you can get rid of your clamps. You don't have to work around them anymore, and then just start working a little bit at a time. And that's, like I say, we're getting on the way. And here also, I'm not going to weld any more down in here, because this will be getting cut out and replaced with new metal. Now from here up's alright. Right, have this all but welded in. I run out of welding wire, and I thought this was a good opportunity. And you can see I run the flux cord wire. Gasless does make nicer welds than that, but I always found I was running out of gas about 20 miles from where I lived to go get it exchanged. And I could, I guess, always buy the second one, but I sort of find this more convenient. And it's not often, but occasionally if you do have to weld outside, it's not affected by wind. But This is the welding wire I was using, was the Hobart 30,000 inch gasless flux cord wire. And what I'm going to do, this is the first I've ever used this switch, and this is sort of see how this works or don't work. I bought this at Harbor Freight. I had a coupon. I think it was like $15.99, same equivalent wire, but the Harbor Freight Vulcan brand. Alrighty, we'll switch her over and we'll go back to this. Alright, now we're going to turn it around and we're going to weld it from the front. This probably isn't a necessity, but since it's accessible, and these two pieces are sort of the building foundation for the rest of this going together, I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to take and run up from here up and then out across here and then up this corner. And you can see we had good penetration on the other side. You can see where the weld through is. There we go, it welded in from the other side with our Harbor Freight wire. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a winner. I think I might start buying it over to Hobart. It cost about $6 less a roll, as you can see. And then the big thing, it made a penetrated through. And see if I can focus on it. Yeah, but it didn't really do no drop through. Okay, we're going to proceed on this. Okay, what we're going to do next is fabricate a piece for in here where this is rusted out. Go down around, and this is going to be 5.5 inches by 4.5. I'm going to go cut the piece, and then we're going to show you how we're going to make it fit in there. Alright, well, I cut the piece of metal, and then I pulled this off the core support, unclamped it again, and I clamped this piece we just cut to this and drew a line with a marker. And I'm going to take and use my 3-inch cutoff tool and cut that. What I want to do is butt weld it right in here. But that's what we're going to do next. As far as cutting it, you can use one of these. Do you have a plasma cutter? I actually do, but I prefer using this. You could use, but you're not going to get a real exact cut. If all else fails, 10 snips, but that's sort of a weapon of last resort. Actually, if you're doing this, you're going to need something like this at least to cut with, and an angle grinder is great too, the 4.5 inch. Alright, we have this clamped in my bench vise. Actually, I'm using a C-clamp in the bench vise to hold it in place and have it supported here with a block of wood. But we're going to put about 2 tacks butt welding, which butt welding is when you're not overlapping the metal or nothing, just together. Get it held in place, and then we're going to take it back over to the core support. Alrighty, there we got it tacked a couple places. I'm going to finish welding the seam. I just brought it back over to the core support. It's larger, but that's the key. We can cut off. It's larger than the repair needed. But first I'm going to finish the weld, and then we'll show you trimming it up, and we're going to, like I say, be ready to soon put this whole big large piece into the core support after we do the same thing on the other side. Alrighty, we finished welding this. Then I took my speed square, laid it across. Now if I turn it the right way, and I want to cut this off straight to right in here. I'll just move that. I slipped the first time with the speed square, that's why the 2 lines. And then same down here. We want to just basically follow this, the core support, and run it straight out to where we're going to be eventually making this lower piece for the core support. But next we're going to cut those off with my Harbor Freight cutoff tool. Alrighty, we cut those off and trimmed it up. Now I'm going to take this, sort of just look carefully. I'm going to cut this off on this rounded edge. so it's more or less contours with where we're going to be welding it into the existing core support. And we're going to do that next. Okay, we cut that off. And what we're going to do now is take this little hammer, another Harbor Freight Special, and just use the existing core support for, like I say, to bend this into place. The little round end of it's a good start. And just start working with it. And take the rubber mallet now and we'll just sort of straighten up the top. And I think I'll take and work this a little bit more. Okay, now I'll show you here up close. And there we go. Okay, that is next step. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to take and mark this, and we're going to be cutting it out, the rusty metal, and I think we're soon ready to start welding this in. Okay, we cut that out and we ground it here nice where we're going to be welding. Now I'm going to take my air flanging tool and we're going to make a flange. I had showed this in the part 2 of this video when we were building the lower piece of the core support, but in case you didn't watch that one, like I say, it's not really a necessity, it just does a nice job. Just take it, works with air, and there, I'll show you a little bit up close what you're doing. And you can see there it just puts a little flange. It just makes it nicer to weld too. It's not really a necessity. And I'm going to do that the whole way around here, and we're getting there. Alrighty, I took and fabricated a piece here for the other side. I clamped it in. Then I used the little hammer again and tapped it down into place. And then same deal, I'm going to take this off. I marked it with the marker. If you're doing this type of work, you can't have enough C-clamps, different types of C-clamps, and vice grips. It's good to get a collection, and then you can see where I marked it. Then we're going to take and just mark it about a ½ inch back in. See here. Just going to take and come down to about probably in here. And around here. There we go. And take that up through there. The same deal over here. And I'm going to take and cut that out. Alrighty, we cut the rusty piece out. There it is in all its glory. Run our flange around, have this clamped, and we're going to weld it in. First, as I showed earlier there, I'm going to do just a little spot like there and down there. And like over here, good enough you can get the clamps out of your way, and then just start little bits at a time, welding around the whole seam. Ready, there we have it just tacked in. Couple one there, just spaced out. This way I can get rid of the clamps. And then just take and I'm going to weld the rest of the way around the seam, taking my time, working a little bits at a time. And in between, take the little hammer and just keep tapping it down in closer to the metal so you get it nice and tight fit, and we'll finish this end. Alrighty, we finished welding the seam around this. And you can see from the underneath. Next I'm going to take and get this main lower part there. I'm going to primer the inside. And I'm going to take and put some punches in it there with the tool. I want to put one of those about every inch, and then we're going to proceed. Like I say, if you don't have one of these, you can drill them. It's slower, but it's sort of a metal paper punch. Alrighty, I finished putting the little punch holes in it, primed it, but before we go start welding, thought of this. I temporarily clamped it in place and drew around where it's going to be meeting into here. I'm going to cut that out and then put the flanges in that, because if I'd waited till we welded it in, I would have been, like I say, not able to use that tool, and like I say, would have had a fight with the drill. But yeah, I thought of that just in time. Eventually we're going to be closing this end, but that's, like I say, down the road there, not at the time. Okay, we got this clamped in place. Like I say, your individual needs, maybe you'll be clamping a little different, but I have it securely enough in place to get a few welds in it. And I'm going to take and do that, and then we're going to temporarily take the clamps off and walk over to the van and just be sure it is going to fit between the subframe and everything's going all right. All right, went and brought this over to the van to test fits. And I figured it's going to need a little trimming here before we go weld it the whole way. But right here, I'm going to cut out from this back edge. You can see it's hitting the subframe. I'm going to trim that. And if you can see, just around from here, down and around. And a little bit more on the other side. I sort of thought this might have been an issue. But yeah, you can see we're hitting the mount there. And I'm going to trim this corner out. I actually was initially going to trim it up here, and then I decided to take a little bit more out. Like I say, this can be built in when we do these corners. Alrighty, we got this temporarily fitted in. Like I say, I'm going to pull it back off and finish welding that, but it'll fit. It's roughly in where it belongs. You can see where I drilled the spot welds, and it's pretty close. Like I say, and we're clearing the subframe now on both sides. Like I say, more trimming might be necessary, but this is fine to go on with welding this in. And same over here. Alrighty, we have this clamped down, upside down on our sawhorses, but we got it welded in. There are plug welds there, and down that side, and our seam, and up around. But now, I was doing these from the bottom edge. That's why I have it supported this way on the core supports. Miscued a little bit here. These two out here aren't quite lining up with the metal. I tried bending the metal back, but that was to no luck there. So what I'm going to do here is take and carefully just cut down to about in here, cut this out, and then just drill 2 holes. If you do the same thing, you can fix it the same way. Now the other side had to do some bending here, but we got right in here. But that'll be to the back side, and we got, now that one lined up, and you can see the underneath of them. But that's what I'm going to do next, is just trim that and weld those two, and from there, I think next we're going to start making these. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is take and just straighten this little lip out right here. Now we can bend in. That's just where it welds to the van itself. And that's good enough for the purposes. And we're going to lay it down here on this metal. And take our marker and draw out around this. Let's see here. And we'll take and we'll add that. That's a little bit of, and we'll come around around here, and there's a whole piece rusted out, but we know it was there, so we're just going to try to go across. And this was cut out. Okay, from there, that's sort of the rough shape here we'll be starting with. And then, like I say, we'll start, it's a building block. All right, we got our piece cut out. Now I did take, from where I drew the line on the front edge here, I decided to add a little to it. I just brought it out and added probably about a 1/2 inch and just gradually faded back into here. And this roughly is going to be sitting eventually down in there. I marked it front, facing the front of the van and bottom, so I don't get till more of this is made confused which way is which. Now we're going to take and make a piece to go from down here to where we cut out sits. And in my case, it's going to be 2.5 inches wide by 17 inches. I'm going to go cut that, and we're going to show you what we're going to do with that. Alright, in the last video I bent some metal using this guy that I made for my shop press, but catch is it's only 12 inches wide. And on this, what we're making for the core support now, like I said, I think it was 17 inches or 16, but I didn't really feel like doing this in 2 pieces like I did down here. Especially like 16's not much more, so I'm going to try. I had this mounted on a bench there, and then I've been rearranging the garage and too many projects. I'm going to try bending it in this sheet metal bending brake. Okay, what we want to do is take our metal, pick this piece up, and try to line it up here where this bends. Get very carefully with that, and then lay that, and push this back a little bit. I need to. Let's see, make sure I'm not hiding your view. Okay, and zoom in there a little bit. And then we're going to take 2 clamps. We're going to clamp this piece down, and the other side of it. Yeah, this needs to tap back a little bit. That should work. And there. And making good and tight, and if all goes well, we move the camera here, because I sort of need to stand where I had it. If all goes well, this will work. Like I say, I only have it temporarily mounted on these sawhorses, but hopefully it don't take too much. Yeah, it worked. And voila. Okay, then we're going to take and work from this now. I already have this clamped down, and then we just put the bend on. That's going to be from the core support down to that piece we cut. But first we're going to have to bend it. Now I want to, like I say, get the contour as close as I can to the core support. And I'm going to use, if you don't have, you could probably, like I say, just wrestle with it there, clamp it, and start even welding there to the core support. But I have one of these metal shrinker and stretchers, and I'll give you a demonstration. I did in the last video demonstrated a little bit, bought it at Harbor Freight. It's a nice handy tool around fixing rust. Alrighty, now we're going to use this one, your shrinker, because I want it to bend back this way. And you just start taking it little bits at a time. There we go. Next, I'm gonna, that's probably not actually getting too far off. I'll go over and check it, but that's how that guy works. Alrighty. finished bending that, and I just temporarily clamped it in. The rest of this, like I say, when you weld it, should come pulling in. Need to trim a little bit off this edge here, and to fit it in I had to cut a little, just take it off because I need to anyhow. I had to take and cut the little corner out of it, but like I say, we're going to take it back off here anyhow. Okay, I now taken this piece we had cut earlier by drawing the pattern, clamped it right here, and put a bend in it. I started it by hand, and then I finished it in the bending brake, and eventually this will get wrapped around. It'll get trimmed some and welded back into this, but for right now we're going to pull this all back off and make it one piece, and I will show you how we're going to do that. Alright, let's try this again. My flange tool broke. Just ordered this from Amazon when I went to demonstrate with the other one, and let's see how this works. But the principle, I got a pistol grip this time instead of the long straight style, but just take, and we want to put our holes in here and just pull the trigger, and voila. Then just repeat that out across. And that's how that works. Yes, sir, I could say that other one, I had it about 10 years and it decided to quit. Alrighty, after I punched the rest of my holes, I took and trimmed a little bit off of this because it was more overhang than you really needed to overlap, and just less place for moisture in that to get in. But I took about another, probably about a 3/8 to 7/16 of an inch off, and then this is going to take and get welded. Right there, welded this. We'll clamp it down and we'll give you a little demonstration here. Try to see how the welding actually does show up at the camera. Alrighty, we took this one clamp. It's clamped to my bench vise, and then I clamped the pieces where we're going to do the plug weld, and then I put one beside it. And we'll try to do a plug weld. I don't know how this is going to show up on camera or demonstration, but we will give it a try. Start in the middle of the hole, hold the torch gun is like 90 degrees, and just start in the center and start working your way out. And I'd say we got that. I'll show you here now. There's from the outside of it, and from the, get it focused, underneath. Little burn through, but not bad. But that's basically, I'm going to repeat that on the rest of those, is how you do those. Alrighty, there's our completed plug welds from the side it was being welded and from the rear. Now I'm going to take and weld the whole seam across the front gradually. I'll give you a little quick how I want to do it there. I mean, with sheet metal you can't just run a real long bead at once, and like I say, that's mainly, you could maybe just say this is good enough, but my theory is seal it up better, that maybe it won't rust as soon. I mean, you live in the Northeast, something you're running in the winter. Eventually, I think the road salt will win, but it's preventative measure. As far as this van, if I can get about another 2 years out of it, I've had it for 7 now, we're going to say it's did well. Alrighty, here we go. And there, just did a little spot there, and then I'm going to move to a different spot on it, and then just take and repeat that until the whole seam is done. And another thing, when you're doing this, I'd pause there for a second, do like 1 or 2 run your molten puddle across, and then just sort of count like 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and then start again. Okay, we finished welding the same. And we look from the rear side. And what I'm going to do now, which is the same, except again, that's why I kept the old pieces, make the one for the driver's side. That one was the passenger side. And I'm going to make that. I'm going to draw the pattern like I showed you with this one, weld it together the same. And then we're going to show you how we're going to fasten them both into the core support. And also on realigning, going to have to put the holes in from the bottom where it holds to the subframe. But that will be, like I say, make this other one, and we will go do that next. Now what I want to do, I was thinking, because they have to come back off, but I need to figure where to drill where it mounts to the subframe of the vehicle. So for temporary, I'm going to put a couple rivets in it to hold them both in, and then take and clamp it back on the van and get the places marked. But I figure I'm going to put one around here, just really right then tall, and oops, that would work better if it wasn't a slip. Okay. Now, put that in, and I'm going to just put a couple more of those to hold this, probably one about in the middle, one over here at the end, and then down around this corner, get it temporarily in place, do the same on the other side. And then we're going to go mark, once clamped in the van, where to drill the hole where it bolts to the subframe. Alrighty, I've riveted these lower pieces of this core support in for temporary, both sides. Then we want to take it and flip it over. And from the back, get the tape measure here. Right there it is. But when I took this apart, this was in part 2 of the video, from this up here down to here was 17 7/8 inches. Now let's just see what we have. Okay, there I'm laid it up there against the top, butted it in from the inside, and 17, and actually about 15/16, but a 1/16 of an inch. I don't think the world's going to come to an end. That's where your subframe bushing should accommodate you. And over here, which was the same measurement, we have, see, I'm holding it against there. That one's actually like probably about 18 and a 32nd, but again, close enough. I think our bushing will accommodate us. Now we're gonna go clamp it into the van and get to where to drill our holes at. Yeah, right. We have it clamped in here temporarily in the van. I sort of just for guideline went where I drilled the spot welds out. Yeah, I crimped over here with 2 vice grips on the passenger side. Same deal, sort of went with where the spot welds were. And what I want to do now is take and just check here on both sides. Take a tape measure or a roller and just hold up against this on the outside of the subframe edge. And it looks like, let me move the light here. I think it's just making a glare. It looks around about 1.5 inch to right at where it starts to bend down around. Okay, and then check the other one. Same spots. And that one's 1.5, 1 5/8. So again, we should be good. Then what I want to take, I can't actually probably draw it successfully. I want to take a marker and come up in through where this hole was. Hold the marker straight and just draw around carefully. Well, see, I'm not actually drawing the line, but just carefully make the pattern. You can reach up in from the subframe, and then I'm going to pull it back off the vehicle. Alrighty, there we drew the line. What I meant to say, I couldn't draw it in, hold the camcorder at the same time. Not that you couldn't draw, because otherwise you sort of be stuck here, but yeah, I should maybe give you the principle of what we're doing. And I did the same on the other side. Now we're going to pull it back off and drill hole. Right, we're back off the van with the core support, with the draw it around where we drew. And it's 1 5/8 to the outer part of the marker. And like I say, I marked right where in the middle is, and it's 13/16. Right there we'll be drilling our hole. And I did the same thing on the other side. And that's going to be the next step. Just drill an 1/8 inch pilot hole in each side. And then I'm going to go get a metal hole saw and make the hole larger. 1 inch hole saw, and use our pilot hole and drill into this. Spray this up good with some of this cutting oil. Loop it up good. And let's give her a shot. Big things to work nice and slow. Maybe I'll oil her up again. And work at it some more. Same deal. Oh, there's more. And we're through. Like I say, just a little patience on doing this, and good bit of oil there. This cutting thread oil I used, got it at Harbor Freight, but I'm sure other places sell it. And the reason didn't drill the hole to the mark, the original piece is cut out, the hole is only 1 inch in diameter. And this actually, knowing the hole style, they do grunt some. It probably is slightly over 1 inch, but won't hurt a thing. No, that is good. That's 1 inch there right on the money. But I'm going to do the other side, and then we're going to keep on proceeding. Alrighty, we've reinstalled the core support temporarily back on the van, and you can see our hole up through the subframe. And on the driver's side. So now we're going to, I'm satisfied on how that's lining up. We're going to pull it back off, re-drill those rivets. This is why we're going to have to, and make the arrangement that it'll bolt up to the core support through the subframe. Alrighty, we got these back off the van again, and I took, this is what originally held it up, the bolt that came up through the subframe, pulled down through the core support. Now this is meant to hold in place while you turn it, because you can't access it with a wrench from the other end and yet have some freedom of movement. So what I'm going to do, if you have a better idea, post her in the comments, but I took, held it on, and just roughly, you don't have to measure, look where your center's at on the hole, and then just sort of, again, see how much movement you need, because this is, like I say, it makes putting it together, you need a little movement so you can get it lined up. Now in my case, I drew that, and then where I just put the little dotted lines there, didn't draw the whole thing, that's how far it moves there. And we're going to take and figure a way to sit this in here, that you'll have this freedom of movement, and it'll stay in place. Alrighty, I have all these pieces, the corners cut, and this will be able to move enough, but yet when you go to tighten it, it will catch. What I want to do now is just, whoops, take and just tack each of these corners a little bit, and then I'm going to pull it back off and weld it good over in the bench vise. Alrighty, there's what I meant. I just did it real quick, just a little spot, and I took and drew a line where it sits with the marker, so when we pull it off, and hopefully it's holding good enough to get it over the, like I said, I don't really want to weld it to it just yet. Let's see, there's that out of her way. Now, and get this one off. Alrighty, there it is, tacked together, and I'm going to go finish welding the bench vise. Yeah, I had to take both hands. I sort of had the vise grip sort of a little bit welded to this. Alright, finished welding this together. Now I'm going to weld it to this. Now this is a little tricky when you're welding like 1/8 inch metal to 18 gauge sheet metal, but I took and ground like an edge on the 1/8 inch metal. And when you're welding, I'm going to try to show this to you, you want to keep your heat focused towards the thicker metal. And let's see what happens, how it's going to show up on the camera. Okay, I think there we got a little spot. Shut the welder off. Alright, take and pull this out. There's from the top edge. And let's see how we did get her from the bottom. Of course, the clamp's right there. Or hold on. Yep, clamp's in the way. Pull that out of her way. But yeah, I would say it went. Not a lot of, like I say, try to avoid as much of the burn through as possible. Now what I was doing was using, which I've had the whole way along, I've mentioned it a time or so, Hobart welder, but instead of the 1 heat setting, the number 3, and the wire speed just a little bit above the 20. Okay, I'm going to finish. I don't think I'm going to go around the whole seam, but I'm going to put one every so often. I'll show you when I'm done, and then one last step, and then I'll do the other one. Okay, we welded this in. Like I say, you didn't have to go around the whole seam. One there and down there on the corner. And then I put one in the side, each one. Now those I ground a little bit because with the weld chunk, it was getting in the way of this. And then this sits in here. And then last step on this, and I'm going to do it, I'm going to take and lay these that I cut, weld them fast, and then this is going to hold this in place and give you the, be able to move it back and forth. We left off with welding these to hold the nut in place, but I got the one welded, and then it hit me. On the original, there was, because this is important, there was a thick plate that had bolted up through the course, when the bolt pulled the core support down towards the stem frame, and right now was a perfect time that I almost forgot. It would have been harder to do. I marked here, going to drill our inch hole. This I'm going to go use the drill press. This is 1/8 inch thick metal, and do that. And I made this 4 inches wide, and it's going to be roughly about 5 inches long, but I marked it here to cut it off to the angle of the piece on the core support. But yeah, I almost forgot that, almost had that nut welded in. And another thing, when you, before you weld it in, which I did this, I took a tap and I cleaned the threads out in this. Now in this case, on this vehicle, it was a 12 millimeter by 1.75 millimeter thread. Got that all nice and cleaned out, but you want to do that to be sure it is reusable before you go permanently mount it in there. And I just give a quick demonstration here of drilling on the drill press. I'm going to, messed on that one. Lube our bit up, fire this up. And just nice and slow. Yep, the drill bit broke, but we did get through. That's lots of 1/8 inch drill bits, and there is our little pilot hole. Then I'll get the hole saw, and then we're going to make that's time consuming, and careful with this, but it will work. We'll demonstrate. Alright, here we're going to do our hole with the hole saw. And this definitely, spray this up good, lube our metal up, and I'm going to grab the glove in case this does catch, which it could, and we're going to start drilling. Slow and easy. And give her some more lubricant. Alrighty, you noticed yesterday my hole saw sort of failed me. She got hot, she smoked, wouldn't cut, got a new hole saw, and we're going to finish this up. Yeah, there we're cutting again. I'm going to spray it quicker this time. And spray him again. welding there, you'll see little metal shavies coming off, which I am. I think we were about through. Almost has to be about through. Alrighty, we got it. And there is our 1-inch hole. Like I say, it only took about probably 10 minutes to get it, but the other option, if you had like a torch, I guess you could try to cut it out with the torch and work it in, but it's going to make an ugly hole. But there is a nice hole. So, and what we're going to do next is take and cut it, where I drew this line, and follows the core support with the angle grinder. And then we're going to show you what to do with this piece. Alrighty, we cut this where we had it marked. Sits in nice, and you want to clamp it on that it lines up if you're holding the sheet metal good. And then this is where we finished up those pieces where the nut was to hold it in place as it moves. And you can see from the other side that that's basically, you want the freedom of movement. And now we're going to take and drill out where I marked here with a drill to about a 3/16 or a 1/4 inch hole. Because what that's going to do, the back part of this where we welded there to stopping this from going out, not these upper pieces but the lower ones, we're going to be plug welding to. That's the purpose of the holes there. So I'm going to go drill those out. Alright, we drilled our holes around, and we're going to clamped it in the bench vise, clamped it down, and we're going to try plug weld. And I'm probably on this because this is 1/8 inch, and in theory, again with it lined up, down underneath was that other 1/8 inch thick piece we used to hold this little guy in place, which is serving its purpose. Like I say, to get penetration, I'm probably going to set the welder up here to Hobart up on the 5, and we'll see how that works. Alrighty, there's those plug welds done. While I was doing it, I just put the bolt in a couple of threads so I didn't get all that welding splatter down in the threads. And you can see that's moving around like it should, giving you the freedom of movement you need. Okay, take it out of this for a second. And where it was at, you can see, that's basically right where it was sitting. That's where, like I say, the body, the subframe bushing is going to, top of it sit there, and then that bolt's going to pull it down to your subframe. I think I'm going to take and weld this edge just due to the rust factor, keep moisture and that out, grind it down, and around this back edge. And this one here, going to let go. for the time being, because that's going to serve a purpose there. We're going to have to still make a piece when this is welded in, bend a piece there to go right to about here on the core support. Yeah, I did decide to weld these edges around. I used the 2 heat setting, and I first made a pass down the sheet metal there, and then went back and, like I say, hit our 1/8 inch plate there and bound them together. Took 2 passes because it was fairly thick. Except around the back edge, I just ground a real sharp edge on it because it was pretty tight to the edge and welded that. Okay, this concludes, repeat this if you need to on the other side. I'm going to, like I say, do that. And in part 3 of this video, we're going to put these in place in the core supports permanently and close up the back side of it. Yeah, like I say, you can see it's basically fitting in there. Okay, thank you. Thank you for watching. Like I say, stay tuned for part 3.